This is going to be a good one. So some women are going to be upset that they cannot use you as a godly man, as a untamable godly man. They're going to be upset. You don't you worry. They're going to be coming for you. And you got to be having the proper discernment to see whether or not what they're trying to do is actually, are they actually trying to help you, or are they trying to divide you? Because a good woman is going to be able to multiply what you have. A not so good woman is going to be able to destroy what you have. And make no mistake, if you share energy with a toxic individual, no matter if it's male or female, toxic things are going to happen. Okay, that's just the nature of toxic energy. And so what your best bet is going to be to do in this kind of situation is to actually make a proper array of choices so that you can strategically maneuver yourself around these kinds of individuals. Because if you can have maneuverability, freedom, and peace of mind as a man, for some of the women out there, you're automatically a target. Okay, like you're automatically somebody that they're going to be upset just by seeing you like happy. Okay, I've literally had women scowl me and like be looking at me like with a scorned look. Why? Because it was like I was content and I was very centered in my energy, and I had a very peaceful presence, and I wasn't trying to look at anybody or do anything. I was just doing my thing. And some women really just don't like that. They want to feel seen, because sometimes women that are not so good, what they want to do is they need you to make them feel alive. Okay, some of these women out here, they need you to make them feel alive, and if they can't control you, then they feel like they're less alive, because they feel like they're less powerful. And if they feel like they're less powerful, then that means that they're losing control of the situation. And if they're losing control of the situation, then that automatically means that, well, they're not as powerful as they thought they were. And so it's an ego thing, okay? And this happens with men as well. But with men, it's a bit different on how it manifests itself. A man is going to be, if a man is a control freak, he's likely going to be aggressive. Okay, it's not going to be assertive, it's going to be aggressive. Well, what's the difference exactly between assertiveness and aggressiveness? Well, assertiveness, you're asserting yourself. You're making it very clear and direct what your intentions are, what you'd like from the situation, or what you want from the situation, or what you need from the situation. Whereas with women that are assertive, it's not like women that are assertive, they tend to be a little bit more controlling, because they're not even necessarily assertive. They're not trying to assert themselves. They're more like, I want it, and if you don't give it to me, there's going to be hell to pay. Whereas a man that's assertive is more like, this is what I want, I'm going to take it or leave it, but I'm making it known that this is what I want, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get it. But if it's not going to be a possible outcome, then that's okay. Women that are highly assertive are usually very masculine, and women that are very masculine are very unsettling in their energy. Okay, and I'm not necessarily saying that women shouldn't know what they want. I'm not saying that women shouldn't necessarily be assertive. I'm just saying that usually assertive women, quote unquote, are like this. Okay, a true assertive woman, or a true assertive woman that I've met, for example, she was still very kind in how she asserted herself. She was still very feminine in how she asserted herself. This was a man's wife that I met at a business event years ago. And she was very, like, she was wearing a dress, she had long hair, little to no makeup, and little to no bling or anything like that. And because a lot of women wear like all these rings and necklaces and all this fancy stuff, and just you know, whatever shines on me, you know, the kind of an attitude. And it's really interesting because, well, so anyway, I'll go back to that in just a second. But the point is that she was still feminine. She was still, even though she was assertive, she wasn't masculine about it. She was very kind about it. And a man, when he's bold and he can be righteous in his boldness, but he's not necessarily rude, but he's not necessarily kind, like a nice guy necessarily. He's kind, but he's not a nice guy. If a man is trying to be controlling, he's usually aggressive, and he's usually the kind of aggressive where if women are too assertive, it's the, if I don't get my way, there's going to be hell to pay kind of a mindset. And that is a man, whether you're male or female, you do not want to be around that kind of man. You do not want to be around that kind of guy, because he is not going to be an asset in any way, shape, or form. He will be a liability. And I've talked about this kind of stuff before, but, you know, this is just kind of fresh because this is something that I was talking about with somebody in the Regal Change Academy Telegram chat. And for those of you that are interested in joining the Telegram, you have to join through the actual paid school community, not just the Discord. And we are still trying to get the Discord up and going as far as like traction and people joining, because it's relatively new compared to the actual paid Regal Change Academy. But there are still going to be more free resources and such in the Discord comparatively. But anyway, we were talking about this, how men that are lacking in self-control are often going to be liabilities. And it's very much the case. A man that has no self-control is going to be a liability. A woman that has no self-control is going to be a liability. Okay? And at the end of the day, people are either assets to your life or they're liabilities. And if they're an asset, that's great. You want to keep them around. But if they're a liability, again, it's better to just stay away from that toxic energy altogether, because you're going to be sharing that toxicity. And if there's any kind of toxicity going on in their lives, the energy that's there is going to be transferred over to you if you don't have Jesus Christ as your shield. And Jesus Christ is going to be the shield in the realm of spirituality for those of you that do follow Christ. That's definitely going to be the route to take. And that's something that I would recommend as well, is to follow Christ for that. Not necessarily for that reason, because obviously there's more reasons, but it would be very good for you to know that Jesus Christ is your shield in that toxic environment, okay? And so you have a lot of different kinds of men and women that are going to be doing these kinds of things. And I've seen women that get really mad that they cannot use me. Like, it's like they're upset that I took away like their toy or something, like, because I was their toy. And when I noticed the game, I was like, oh, okay, if this is how it's going to be, that's fine. I'll just remove myself from the equation. And that's what I did. I removed myself from the equation. And so I removed myself from the equation, and all of a sudden, like, when you remove your attention, which is, you've got to have the discernment. Is this woman wanting attention? Is she wanting validation? Is she wanting love? And when I say love, I mean affection. Or is she wanting clout? Is she wanting cash? Because you can tell by the behaviors and the way she talks. Is she bringing life to the conversation, or is she bringing spiritual death? Okay, is she trying to curse herself and you in the conversation? Because I've had women like that where, man, they were so attractive. Like, I'm talking beautiful women, but highly, highly, highly toxic, highly toxic. And it's crazy because they look like they're glowing on the outside, but what that really is just a vortex disguised as glowing. Like, you can tell when somebody really has a celibacy glow, for example, right? Like a celibacy glow. Like, you look at my skin right here, I've got the celibacy glow, for sure. My skin is healthy, it's nice, And I really don't do like any kind of skincare routine or anything like that. But you can tell that just by looking at me and in my eyes, there is little to no toxicity there. But when you look into the eyes of these kinds of women or men that have this like glowingness to them, but what that really is like a narcissistic mask, okay? And sometimes it's just a highly vibrant ego. And I don't even necessarily want to use the word vibrant, but it is like a vibrant ego. And so it's like people are drawn to them, but it's only because they think that they're the center of the universe. And so people that think this way, like they are literally solipsistic, that think they are the center of the universe, like the universe revolves around them and there's not other people in the world. Like those kinds of people will have a kind of glow to them. I think that was like a squirrel or something that just like popped up right there. But they will have a glow to them, but it's not like a celibacy glow. It's not a pure glow. Well, how do you know the difference? Well, you've got to have spiritual understanding. You've got to be willing to see into that spiritual realm, and you've got to be able to see things for what they really are. Are you trying to live an entitled fantasy, or are you trying to live in reality? And how do you know if you're trying to live in an entitled fantasy compared to reality? Well, you're comfortable with being uncomfortable. If you're comfortable with being uncomfortable, you're probably living in reality more often than not. That's not always the case, but usually that's the case, because people that are disciplined, that are responsible, but, you know, still can have a good time and have fun, they're the kinds of people that they can see through that kind of stuff. They'll be able to see through it. And it's not to say that like you're going to be immune to any toxicity, but it's going to minimize it. Like any kind of hurt that the other person tries to inflict upon you is going to be minimized to the fullest extent. And that ought to be comforting for many people out there watching this. And so with that being said, I want to thank everybody that has moved over to the X platform, and I want to thank everybody that has continued to support here on YouTube, and for everybody that's in the Regal Change Academy, whether you're in the Discord, Telegram, or in the actual school community where we meet once a week to have calls. I just want to say that to see this thing grow and to see Regal Change as a whole really begin to blossom, it's a beautiful thing to see, and it's a blessing, and I thank God for it every day, and I thank God for the connections that we've been able to make in these kinds of programs and everything all together. So with that being said, peace be with you. Till next time.